This is absolutely unthinkable, and if you're not in complete shock right now, then you clearly missed the most stunning and most career-defining upset in WWE history when Bronson Reed defeated Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel 2025 to end the most dominant championship reign of the modern era. And the worst part is that Roman didn't lose because Reed was better, he lost because Paul Heyman betrayed him at the most crucial moment, stabbing the tribal chief in the back and destroying everything the bloodline has built over the past several years. If you think this is just another title change, you're completely wrong, because what I'm about to expose proves that Roman's empire didn't just fall, it was demolished from within by the one man Roman trusted more than anyone, and the wrestling landscape will never be the same. Comment right now if you're absolutely devastated by Paul Heyman's betrayal and Roman's shocking loss, because this isn't just about a championship changing hands, this is about legacy being destroyed, about trust being shattered, and about the most powerful faction in WWE history crumbling in the most heartbreaking way possible. The tribal chief has fallen, the wise man has turned traitor, and Bronson Reed is your new champion in the most controversial finish you'll ever witness. Let me break down exactly what happened at Crown Jewel, because every single detail of this match and this betrayal needs to be analyzed to understand the magnitude of what just transpired. Roman Reigns vs. Bronson Reed was already positioned as a David vs. Goliath story, except Reed was Goliath due to his size, making Roman the underdog fighting against pure physical dominance, which is a role Roman hasn't played in years. The match started with Roman controlling the pace, proving that experience and technical skill could overcome size and power. Roman was hitting his signature offense, building toward what seemed like an inevitable victory that would add another name to his legendary list of conquered opponents. Paul Heyman was at ringside as always, providing encouragement, strategic advice, playing his role as the wise man perfectly. Here's a trivia question for longtime fans: how many days did Roman Reigns' most recent Universal/Undisputed Championship reign last before this loss? Drop your estimate below. But about 15 minutes into the match, things started to feel off. Paul Heyman's body language changed. He stopped encouraging Roman. He started looking conflicted, like he was wrestling with some internal decision. Roman noticed it too. You could see him glancing at Paul between sequences, clearly concerned about his advocate's strange behavior. The turning point came when Roman set up for the spear, his finishing move, the strike that has ended countless matches and countless careers. Reed was positioned perfectly, the crowd was on their feet anticipating the kill shot, and Roman charged forward with all his power. But Paul Heyman reached into the ring and grabbed Roman's leg, just enough to throw off his momentum and timing. Roman crashed awkwardly, the spear missing its target completely. He immediately turned to Paul with an expression of shock and betrayal, mouthing, "What are you doing?" Paul just stared back at him with those calculating eyes, and you could see the moment when Roman realized that something terrible was about to happen. Before Roman could process what was happening, Reed capitalized with a devastating tsunami splash. Then another. Then another. 3 consecutive tsunami splashes, each one crushing Roman under Reed's 330 pounds of pure mass. The impact was sickening. Roman's body wasn't just taking damage, it was being destroyed by the repeated assault. Drop a comment: did you see Paul Heyman's betrayal coming, or were you completely blindsided like Roman was? Let me know. Roman was barely conscious, his body broken and unable to defend itself. Reed covered him for the pin. 1, 2, 3. The referee's hand hit the mat for the 3rd time, and the impossible had happened. Roman Reigns' historic reign was over. Bronson Reed was the new champion, and the architect of Roman's downfall was the man who had stood by his side for years, Paul Heyman. The immediate aftermath was chaos. The crowd was in stunned silence, unable to process what they just witnessed. Reed was celebrating with the championship, but even he seemed somewhat surprised that the plan had actually worked. And in the middle of the ring, Roman Reigns lay broken, not just physically from Reed's assault, but emotionally from Paul's betrayal. Paul Heyman slowly entered the ring, and the crowd's silence turned to deafening boos. Paul stood over Roman's fallen body, and what he said next will echo through wrestling history forever. "Roman, you were the greatest client I ever had. You were." Past tense. Because you made the same mistake everyone makes, you thought you were irreplaceable. You thought the bloodline was forever. You thought I would always be your wise man. But the truth is, I'm not your wise man. I'm not your advocate. I'm my own man. And I just proved that I can make champions, and I can break them too. The cruelty in Paul's voice was chilling. This wasn't heat of the moment betrayal. This was calculated, premeditated destruction of Roman's career and legacy. Paul continued, "Bronson Reed is the future. He's everything you used to be: hungry, violent, unstoppable. And with my guidance, he's going to build an empire that makes yours look like a footnote. As for the bloodline, consider it extinct." Quick question: how many times has Paul Heyman betrayed a client in his WWE career? Test your Heyman betrayal knowledge. Roman, barely able to move, was crying, not from physical pain but from emotional devastation. The man he trusted most, the man who had been with him through his entire rise to dominance, had just destroyed everything in one calculated moment. The visual of the tribal chief reduced to tears while his former advocate stood over him celebrating was heartbreaking and powerful. The Bloodline members who were backstage reportedly rushed to Roman's aid, but the damage was done. Solo Sikoa, the Usos, everyone who had stood with Roman looked lost. Their entire identity was built around Roman's dominance and the Bloodline's power structure. With Roman defeated and Paul gone, what happens to all of them? The wrestling world exploded with reactions. Social media was dominated by discussion of the upset and the betrayal. Hashtag Roman Reigns, hashtag Bronson Reed, and hashtag Paul Heyman Betrayer were all trending worldwide simultaneously. Fans were divided, some were thrilled to see Roman finally lose, others were devastated for him, but everyone was talking about it. The immediate questions are endless. How does Roman respond to this? Does he seek revenge on Paul and Reed? Does he retreat from WWE to recover emotionally? Does the Bloodline stay together or fracture without their leader at his peak? Does Bronson Reed with Paul Heyman become the new dominant force in WWE? The uncertainty creates infinite storytelling possibilities. Tell me in the comments, do you think Roman Reigns will ever forgive Paul Heyman, or is this betrayal too deep to ever repair? Give me your honest take. The business implications are staggering. Bronson Reed as champion with Paul Heyman as his advocate is money. The heat on both of them is nuclear right now. Every fan wants to see them get their comeuppance, which means every show they appear on will draw interest. Roman as the fallen hero seeking revenge is equally compelling. WWE just created multiple money-making storylines with one moment. The legacy implications for Roman are complex. His historic reign has ended, but the way it ended, through betrayal rather than being legitimately beaten, actually protects Roman's aura. He didn't lose because he wasn't good enough. He lost because he was sabotaged by someone he trusted. That narrative allows Roman to maintain credibility even in defeat. For Bronson Reed, this is the ultimate validation. He's been saying he's the most dangerous man in WWE, and now he has the championship to prove it. But there's also the question of whether his title win feels legitimate since it required Paul's interference. Does Reed care? Probably not. He's champion, and that's all that matters to him. For Paul Heyman, this is potentially his greatest manipulation. He helped Roman build an empire, then chose the perfect moment to tear it all down and start fresh with someone new. It's ruthless business strategy, and it cements Paul's legacy as the most cunning mind in wrestling history. But it also makes him the most hated man in WWE right now. The emotional impact on fans is real. Roman Reigns has been champion for so long that many fans can't even remember WWE without him at the top. His loss creates a sense of uncertainty and change that's both exciting and unsettling. The status quo has been shattered, and nobody knows what comes next. What's your prediction? How long before Roman Reigns wins back a world championship? Months? Years? Or is his time at the top over? Drop your timeline. The Bloodline's future is the biggest question mark. Without Roman as the dominant, unbeatable champion, what holds them together? Do they rally around Solo as the new leader? Do they splinter into different factions? Do they seek revenge on Paul and Reed as a unified front? The possibilities are endless and all of them are fascinating. The potential matches coming from this are incredible. Roman vs. Reed in a rematch where Roman is desperate for revenge. Roman vs. Paul Heyman in some kind of stipulation match where Paul finally pays physically for his betrayal. Multi-man matches involving Bloodline members and Reed's potential new allies. The creative options are limitless. The championship prestige has been elevated by this moment. Reed winning in such a dramatic, controversial fashion makes the title feel important in ways it hasn't felt during Roman's long, dominant reign. The title can change hands. The champion can be vulnerable. That unpredictability is good for business. The comparison to other historic upsets is inevitable. Is this wrestling's equivalent of Mike Tyson losing to Buster Douglas? Is it comparable to the streak ending at WrestleMania? Does it rank among the most shocking moments in WWE history? The answer to all those questions is probably yes, because the combination of the upset and the betrayal makes this doubly shocking. Here's a controversial question: do you think Roman Reigns' reign lasted too long and this loss was necessary, or should Roman have kept the title longer? Be honest in the comments. The international reaction is particularly strong because this happened at Crown Jewel, WWE's biggest show in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi audience witnessed history, and WWE delivered the kind of shocking moment that justifies the massive investment in these international premium live events. This is the kind of content that makes Crown Jewel feel special. The backstage reaction was reportedly mixed. Some wrestlers were thrilled to see Roman finally lose because it opens up opportunities for everyone else. Others were concerned about what Roman's loss means for the Bloodline standing and their own positions in WWE's hierarchy. The political ramifications backstage are significant. The merchandise implications are fascinating. Does WWE immediately create Bronson Reed champion merchandise? Do they make Roman Reigns betrayed sympathy merchandise? How quickly can they capitalize on this moment while the heat is still intense? The marketing department is probably working overtime right now. The media coverage has been extensive. Wrestling media is covering every angle of the story. Some mainstream sports outlets are picking it up because Roman's reign was so long and so dominant that his loss is genuinely newsworthy. WWE is getting publicity that money can't buy. One final question: if you could book one match for Roman Reigns' return to action, what would it be and who would he face? Give me your dream booking. The psychological complexity of this storyline is rich. Roman has to deal with betrayal from his closest confidant, the loss of his championship, the potential fracturing of his family faction, and questions about his own judgment in trusting Paul. That's layers of character development that can sustain storylines for months. Now I want to hear from you, the Wrestling Newsletter family. Tell me in the comments. Are you shocked by Roman's loss and Paul's betrayal? Do you support Bronson Reed as the new champion? Will Roman ever recover from this emotionally? Is Paul Heyman the greatest villain in wrestling now? What should Roman's path to revenge look like? Did Roman's reign last too long or end too soon? Smash that like button if you're devastated for Roman Reigns. Destroy that like button if you think this upset was exactly what WWE needed. We need maximum engagement. Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter because we're covering every development in Roman's quest for revenge and Reed's championship reign. Share this video with every wrestling fan because Roman Reigns losing to Bronson Reed after Paul Heyman's betrayal at Crown Jewel 2025 is the most shocking moment of the year. The tribal chief has fallen. The wise man has turned traitor. Bronson Reed is your new champion. The bloodline is in chaos. And the wrestling world will never be the same. This is the kind of earth-shattering moment that defines eras and creates legendary storylines. History was made at Crown Jewel, and we all witnessed it together.